Hello everyone and welcome to Mountain Lake Journal. I'm Thom Hallock. This week, fighting heroin and opiate abuse.
I took my first handful of pills, and that's when all my priorities seemed to change.
Television networks across the U.S. this week started airing a public service ad to raise awareness about the opiate epidemic that has become a national crisis. Every day in the U.S., 2,500 kids between the ages of 12 and 17 abuse prescription painkillers, which for many will lead to heroin, a cheaper and more readily available alternative.
So the people on the
And when a task force led by Lieutenant Governor Kathy Hochul held hearings around the state this past spring, it heard from several communities where law enforcement, public health, and drug treatment providers are forming coalitions to work in unison, raising awareness about the dangers of drug addiction and providing treatment, support, and services for addicts, their families, and community members dealing with the effects of the heroin and opiate crisis.
And we gathered a bunch of stakeholders, and then when those stakeholders met, we said, who are we missing? And they picked more and more people, and honestly, it was really important to do that coalition building. So we have a coalition that encompasses everybody. We have the judge on our task force, we have local PD, we have state police, we have county police, we have corrections, we have the district attorney, we have probation, we have treatment, recovery, prevention, and intervention. So I think that putting the right people together and supporting that is really important.
Linda Beers is the co-chair of the Heroin and Opiate Prevention Coalition in Essex County, New York. Now a similar coalition is forming in Clinton County. And here to talk more about this is Christine Peters, who is the Director of Legal and Social Services in Clinton County, and also John Bernardi, who is the Executive Director of the United Way of the Adirondack Region. Welcome to you both. We're seeing in counties across the state a new team approach to tackle heroin and opiate abuse to not only help the addicts, but their families and others in the community whose lives are affected by this epidemic. So what's the idea behind this team approach?
Well, it got started when the KC Foundation actually sponsored an opiate convening to sort of brainstorm and find what works, what doesn't work in prevention, recovery, different strategies to kind of combat the heroin and opiate epidemic, because the rise in overdoses, the rise in use, the rise in ER uses from individuals who are abusing opiates and heroin, it's just astronomical from what it was just a year ago.
Who are some of the partners?
Well, we started small with substance abuse treatment providers locally, the DA's office, some law enforcement personnel, but it's expanded quite a bit to include medical personnel from the hospital, more regional law enforcement, the United Way, Department of Social Services, mental health agencies, BHSN, individuals in recovery. So it's really the Alliance for Positive Health. It's really a community-wide, there's no restrictions really, because it does affect everybody.
And what's the benefit of having so many partners working together?
Well, we can hit each strategy. We can have a multiple strategy approach. We have individuals who focus on prevention. We have individuals who focus on recovery. We really can get the word out everywhere, from top down.
And in the past was part of the problem that many of the agencies were sort of working in a silo and doing their own thing and not as a team?
Well, really, Tom, this crisis is a community crisis, and it's very pervasive in terms of its effect across the community and across the region.
Tom, as you know, I work at the Department of Social Services, and I would venture a guess, I looked at the stats this week, and 45% of the children in foster care in Clinton County have been put in foster care or been needed, we've needed to have legal intervention because of substance abuse. You
mentioned the foster care. That's a real problem, not only in Clinton County, but Franklin County. A number of counties all across the state are seeing the same thing. They've really seen their numbers go up dramatically because children are getting caught up in this. So one, or in some cases both parents, if they're dealing with addiction, suddenly social services and the counties are having to find foster homes for these kids.
Absolutely. And I think anecdotally, there are also a lot of children that are being cared for by grandparents, aunts, uncles in this county that don't even come before the legal system because families are trying to do the best they can to rally around their family member that has an addiction problem. So I think the number is much greater than is reflected by foster care. You're
just getting organized now, and you're holding your first public event. It's a community forum that's being held this coming Tuesday, September 20th, 7 p.m. at the Strand Theatre in Plattsburgh. And you're inviting the public to come and hear about this new partnership, who's part of the coalition, and basically what the mission is.
Well, John's going to be master of ceremonies, and the district attorney, Andrew Wiley, will be having an introduction, kind of telling how this problem affects the whole area. Assemblywoman Janet Dupree will be speaking. As everyone knows, she's been very committed to this cause. She held a forum last year, and Janet has been very involved and very supportive of our efforts in this community. We'll be having Michael Nerney speak, and he is a renowned expert on addiction and the brain, and just kind of explaining how this does affect the addict, the family, and what are the consequences of this, so people really understand that this is a disease.
And will there be questions taken from the audience, or are they coming just to hear the members of the coalition?
This time, Tom. We're going to work into that type of a structure in the future, but at this point, the focus is on understanding heroin and prescription opioid abuse, and to really present information from an expert and other community leaders who are involved in this situation, to really gain an understanding of what the crisis is and how it's affecting people, and really what being addicted to opioid substances is like, and what some of the parameters and factors are involved in that. And that's the focus of this particular forum.
Now, you mentioned Janet Dupree and some of her colleagues in the New York State Assembly held a forum in Plattsburgh a year ago this month, and I think for many it really opened their eyes to the heroin and opioid crisis that's going on right now, how widespread it's become, and how the impact is not only on the addicts but many other people in the community.
Yes.
What has changed in the past year since Janet held that forum, as you bring together all of the experts and the partners in the year since that was held? Are we seeing progress in addressing this?
Well, both. We're seeing progress in terms of resources and partnerships and collaborations forming around the issue. What we're also seeing is that the impact is tangible and continues to be significant. And some of the things we see on an obvious basis, Tom, like we talk about the children and the families that are affected by this crisis, and those are the things we think about and see, and they're the most visible. But we don't necessarily realize that this is very pervasive. This is affecting workforce development issues. This is affecting employers' ability to employ people and run their business, whether it's a manufacturing firm or any other type of business. This foster care we talked about, of course, that's related to the child and family piece, but there are numerous issues that are related to this that are not necessarily real visible, and workforce development and employment issues being one that we tend to overlook, and the impact on the business community that we tend to overlook as well.
And Christine, you talk about the number of children, the increase in the number of children in foster care. Is that putting pressure on social services? Is there a need for more foster parents? Are there enough foster parents right now to step in and handle this crisis?
Well, we never have enough foster parents, because you want to have a good match with the children that come into care with the home that they're going to go to temporarily while their parents work on their issues. So we absolutely always need new foster parents. We need foster parents for teens. That's probably our gravest need right now. The impact on the social services system is very great. I mean, if you think of how many petitions we file, and the petitions and legal action related to drug abuse is almost half now. And that has been significant, and it's really risen over the past 2 to 3 years.
And the goal is always, if possible, to keep the children in the same school, in the same community. And I imagine if there aren't enough foster parents, then you run the risk of having to move them elsewhere, which can obviously put a huge strain on the children in addition to what they're dealing with in their family life.
Well, there's a lot of things that we have to consider. We want to consider keeping them in their same school district. You want to keep them close to their parents because they have visitation with their parents. You want to keep them you want to keep children close to their grandparents, their family members, so they can still see their family members at their soccer games. If we don't have foster homes in this community for these children, they are traveling long distances. They're siblings. We can't always keep sibling groups together. At least if you have sibling groups with foster homes in Clinton County, they can get together and play on a weekly basis. So there's so many impacts if we have to send children out of county to reside. And it's really a strain on the parents as well because they're working towards reunification.
When Janet held the forum last year, the hearing a year ago, there was discussion of improving treatment options in Clinton County, and that is moving forward.
Yes,
the youth center, the former youth center in Schuyler Falls, appears that it will soon, within the next year, become a detox unit so that folks can go there. They won't have to travel 100 miles to Canton or the next closest treatment facility. So that's a positive step. Absolutely. Are there other positive steps that have been happening over the past several months?
Well, Champlain Valley has trained, I'm not sure exactly how many recovery coaches, but they have trained recovery coaches, and that has become part of their daily operations, which is really important because when addicts come back to this community and they're in recovery, they're engaging in NAAA, they're engaging in services, there are many times that they are facing a crisis that they just can't get on the phone and call their counselor who only works 9 to 5. The recovery coaches are very supportive. They're available on call 24/7. I think that's one of the greatest things that we have going in our community for recovery.
Just a reminder, next week's community forum, it's free and open to the public. Everyone is encouraged to attend. Being held at the Strand Theatre in Plattsburgh on Tuesday, September 20th from 7 to 9 p.m. The Strand located at 25 Brinkerhoff Street in Plattsburgh. And if people want more information leading up to the hearing, where can they go to find out more?
Well, we have a Facebook page, and you can go to Facebook and look up Substance Abuse Prevention and Recovery of Clinton County, New York. We have an event forum posted, so if you click on that, like it, share it, so people can come.
And the first of many events is what you're saying.
Yes.
Tom, another important point that you may want to mention is that doors open at 6:15 because we have several organizations present there that evening offering information and having tables of information set up for the public. So we welcome people to arrive as early as 6:15 and be able to gather and gain information.
John Bernardi, Christine Peters, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.